Welcome back. I hope you all had a great lunch. I had a diet due and some lunch, so that makes me happy. We're ready to dive back into today's conference. Just to make sure we have enough time for our presentation, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speakers for today's featured presentation of adding generative AI to your toolbox. After the presentation, Taylor's going to spend a quick minute to set up the afternoon's breakout sessions because that will be after this. But for now, I need to introduce a good friend, Aaron Davis, and really a leader in AoS going back many years. Um, Aaron is a director for the Center for Public Health Initiatives, which is housed at the Community Engagement Institute at Wichita State University in Kansas. He specializes in project management and strategic operations, and he has a master's degree in public administration and in business administration, as well as an undergraduate degree in business administration and integrated marketing communications. His previous work includes both the government and private industry. He's previously worked for Sedgwick County Health Department, a good friend and strong AOS member, and now works to assist to improve all areas of public health in the state of Kansas through his role at the Wichita State University. With more than a decade of experience in public health, Aaron is an advocate for advancing Public Health 3.0 model in Kansas. He's been recognized as the 40 under 40 in public health by the Beaumont Foundation. It was awesome to see that recognition at Nature 360 last year. Now, Taylor Carter, if everyone doesn't know Taylor, I'm sure they do for AOS members, but for those that don't, is a program health specialist for the Center for Public Health Initiatives at Wichita State University and the Community Engagement Institute. She serves as a state of Kansas AOS librarian, helped coordinate this conference, and is known around the office as the data nerd because she's passionate. She really is about leveraging emerging technologies to drive meaningful change in public health. Previously, she graduated from Wichita State University with her bachelor's degree in health services management and community development. And in 2019, Taylor went to the University of Kansas to earn her master's degree in public health that focuses on epidemiology. Taylor has 6 years of experience with the Center for Public Health Initiatives, where she has supported public health workforce development initiatives and increased collaboration among public health departments and strengthening public health systems in Kansas. She also, as default, as the National AOS Librarian, and really we all kind of turn to them. So without further ado, Aaron and Taylor.
Thanks for that, Jake, and great to be with you all today. So, really quick before we get started, one thing to know, we have a lot of information to cover around artificial intelligence, and a lot of people on the call are going to be like across the spectrum in terms of you love artificial intelligence, you use things like ChatGPT Copilot every day, to folks that are scared of it and or don't know about it, don't care about it, like this might be the first time you've heard about it. So we're going to try to cover the gamut of making sure everybody learns something today. And that also means we have a lot of information to cover. We're going to go pretty fast. So I want to apologize for that up front. You will see us go through some slides pretty quickly, like some of our intro ones here. Thanks for the introduction, Jake. I won't stay here too long, other than to say, when we think about artificial intelligence, it definitely is one of those things where people gravitate to or you don't. And I definitely have gravitated to it. I really love it. This is one of my favorite photos generated from AI. I like to share. I took this in my car in front of a Taco Tico doing a selfie, and now it's one of my favorite profile pics. So just a little bit of what you can do with AI. Taylor?
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm the one who's been talking with you all morning about AOS. But I'm so glad to be here and I'm so glad all of you are too. In case I didn't say it earlier, my pronouns are she, her. I've been in public health working with Wichita State in this role for almost 6 years. Like my bio said, I'm a data nerd, so interested in AI. I think there's so many untapped things that we can do with it. And I'm excited to talk a little bit about that with all of you guys today. So thanks for being here.
All right. So we mentioned we're from the Community Engagement Institute. You'll see our purpose there. We really love to bring people together, facilitate learning, working with solutions, building capacity. That is at the individual, organization, and systems level. So check out communityengagementinstitute.org if you want to learn more about that. For the sake of moving forward quickly, we cannot do this presentation without acknowledging a dear friend of ours, Tatiana Lin. This is some information about her. She has been a thought partner for the last 2 years on artificial intelligence in public health. She's helped us write blog posts about it and do a lot of the work in this area. If you are not familiar with the Kansas Health Institute, which is where she works, it is a great nonpartisan policy institute here in Kansas. Many of you probably are familiar with different public health institutes across the country. So why Kansas? Why are we talking about AI? I think one of the reasons is because we have leaned in for the last year and a half. We've been doing an AI community of practice for local health departments. We're working on developing guides and resources that we have on one of our Kansas websites. In our partnerships with the Kansas Health Institute, we have done dozens and dozens of presentations and gone out and talked with folks about artificial intelligence. So we're well versed in talking about it. And with that, one of the things that just rolled out this week, and I will drop a link in the chat for everybody, is a new tool. It is a guide. It has templates in it and a chat bot to help you write organizational policies and guidelines around the use of AI. So don't do it right now, but save the link, open it, put it to the side, and definitely come back to this once we're done today. So for today, as I mentioned, we want to give you an overview of artificial intelligence, let you think about tasks and things you can do with artificial intelligence. And I hope to goodness we have some time to talk about ethical considerations with it, because we saved that for the ends to get you really excited about the use of AI and then hit you with some of the reality of things we need to be thinking about at the end before we use it, which many of you, again, probably are using it already.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. All right, so let's start at the very beginning. What exactly is AI? In simplest terms, AI is really just a set of tools and techniques that can help computers learn from data, make decisions, and ultimately improve over time. It's like a smart assistant that can sift through mountains of information to help us make better decisions, kind of like a trusted advisor. Google is a good example of a form of AI. You type something into the search bar on Google, as I'm sure we've all done many times. It sorts through billions of web pages to find the most relevant results for our queries, or just what we've asked it to search for. But Google is really just a small part of all of this AI stuff. It's what we might actually call general AI, which is essentially just used to help us make sense of things. But there are really two main types of AI that have been up and coming. There's generative AI, which is what we're going to focus on here today. These are the things that are designed to produce new content. So text, images, music, all based on the input that is received. So these excel in creating human-like text that are used for interactive and creative tasks. This AI is primarily used as chatbots, virtual assistants, content creation, creative writing, among other things, of course. We actually have a use case example later where we're going to get to see some of that creativity in action. And then there's integrated AI systems. I won't go into too much detail here, but these are essentially systems that are embedded within applications to enhance their functionality by integrating AI capabilities within them. So they work behind the scenes to improve search results, personalize recommendations, automate customer service, all kinds of things. It's the kind of AI that's used primarily for things like data analytics, personalized experiences, automated customer service. So for example, after you watch something on Netflix, you know how it'll ask you if you liked what you watch. And then when you answer those prompts, it'll start creating an algorithm based on your interests, and it'll give you suggestions on what it thinks you would like or what you should watch next. I won't get into too much detail here just for the sake of time, but all you really need to know about this is that artificial intelligence is a really broad field of computer science. There's lots of different systems that are capable of performing tasks that typically need human intelligence. Within artificial intelligence, there's machine learning that uses data to predict outcomes. There's deep learning that uses those neural networks. And then for all of it, there's natural language processing for speech recognition, text processing, all of those kinds of things. It's an even more advanced subset. And to the point of, for the sake of time, all of this timeline here is really just to say that AI has been around a lot longer than I think a lot of us realize. The timeline starts in 1950, but even before that, between 1900 and 1950, there was lots of media coverage around the idea of artificial humans. Some of the language used around that time was robots. And then, we have Alan Turing, who provided the Turing test, which is the imitation test used to measure computer intelligence. And then that's kind of how artificial intelligence came to be phrased. It just over time, this has built and built and built on itself to get us to the point where now we're in this modern era of AI, right? In just 10 years, there's been significant breakthroughs of widespread adoption of AI. So that deep learning and that natural language processing have become a really huge part of how AI functions. Scientists at Google have spent this time just training neural networks to recognize patterns. There's OpenAI, which is the company that, that owns ChatGPT, which we'll talk about today. And there's even image processing models like DALL-E within ChatGPT. So all of this to say, this timeline is just to show that AI has a really rich history that goes back probably further than you think, and it's evolving rapidly over time and impacting a lot of different areas of our lives. So these are just a few ways that AI is already impacting our everyday life that you might not think about or realize, but smartphones, right? Our smartphones are little AI powerhouses. Even just your camera uses features like facial recognition, scene detection, image enhancements. All of those are AI driven. All of it is to help you figure out, how to take the best photos, the lighting conditions, all of that good stuff. Emails, AI keeps our inboxes organized. Email services use AI to filter out spam, categorize emails into tabs, just making it easier for you to find what you need in a quicker way. Streaming services, I mentioned Netflix earlier, Hulu, Spotify, all those things seem to know exactly what you want to watch or listen to next. And it's a little creepy, but sometimes it's helpful. They use AI to analyze your habits and preferences and give you those personalized recommendations so you can enjoy your favorite content or find your new favorite content without even having to search for it. Navigation apps, Google Maps are essential for getting around. I have lived in Wichita my whole life pretty much, and I still rely on my maps like crazy. So those are also examples of AI. It can predict traffic patterns, suggest alternate routes, things like that to save you time. And then there's smart home devices. That's another AI kind of feature that's making our homes smarter. Devices like smart thermostats, security cameras, lighting systems, all of those things can be AI. So for example, like a smart thermostat could learn your schedule and adjust the temperature for comfort, energy, and efficiency if you wanted to.
Thanks, Taylor. So one of the things that we like to cover is the policy side, what's happening at the federal government around AI. And I'm sure many of you can sympathize. We had to scrap all of our slides this week because everything that was up until last week is no more. So I'll share what little pieces I can. Previously, if you've been paying attention on the federal level, under the Biden administration, there was AI.gov. Don't bother going to it now. It's gone. But they developed the AI Bill of Rights. And these are the five sections of that. And all of their policies and everything was driven by this innate desire to lead with some of these security safeguards around this new emerging technology. And with that, there was a massive hiring of chief artificial intelligence officers across the board at the federal level. As far as we know, they're still all employed, at least on a wide scale. But we know that there's going to be a dramatic shift in the federal landscape of how this work around AI is going to be rolling out. Right now, what's been done is a executive order. So under the Biden administration, this program was called Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy Development and Use of Artificial Intelligence. The new guidance is removing barriers to American leadership in artificial intelligence. So, without getting into any of the details around it, it's really a fundamental shift from that safe, secure, slow approach to a more innovative driven free market version of artificial intelligence. And there's pros and cons to that. But the biggest thing I would say is that it sounds like the current administration is really going to be leaning into tech companies and what they're doing, giving them a lot of freedom to develop AI. So there's something called Stargate that recently launched, the $500 billion venture that's expected to bring hundreds of thousands of jobs into data centers that we're going to be building across the country. Of course, that has environmental conversations and other things as well. If you've heard about DeepSeek, that came out this last week and really put a hamper on some of the things that's been released as far as this removing barriers to American leadership in artificial intelligence, because we're seeing AI models come from other countries. Biggest thing to know right now, in the next 180 days from this executive order, they're going to be developing a plan of action around artificial intelligence. I assure you, we will be watching that to know what exactly is going to be coming down the pike at the federal level. You should be paying attention to the state level, though, as well, because regardless of what happens at the federal level, really what's going to guide a lot of our work is around the state legislation. So we've been monitoring this. This is kind of a snapshot of what we saw in 2024. About 40 states have enacted laws around AI, whether it's individual like use at the government level, private sector use, responsible use, how to use it for study or in studies, healthcare, etc. So if I'll drop a link in the chat around this, and if you have a chance to look up what's going on in your state, that might be beneficial. So that would be my one bit of guidance around state and federal policies is pay attention, because it will impact how we use these systems and how we want to use these systems. So knowing that some of that is in the air and we have a lot to navigate, it doesn't deter us from the fact that these systems are really fantastic and save us so much time and energy. So we're going to lean into why we want to use these in our everyday work. We do not promote just ChatGPT for the sake of having a tool and just showing the same screens. We are utilizing ChatGPT as an example, but this applies to any generative AI, as Taylor mentioned before. So Copilot, Gemini, all those systems will apply to what we are talking about today. So what is ChatGPT? It's really just a chatbot. It is artificial intelligence at its core of being able to know and understand what you are saying and then respond to it as if it was a human, or that artificial aspect of a human type response. It does use deep learning algorithms to know and understand what you're asking and learn and develop, but that happens over time. It doesn't instantly learn and change on a fly just as you are chatting with it. So as we use these systems, this is one of my favorites. I think I'm the individual on the left, right? It's all space AG. We're doing these really cool artificial intelligence things. Really, it's just us on the computer pretending to have a conversation with a person who isn't there. So number one thing we like to talk about with AI is don't treat it as a all-powerful, all-knowing being. It's not a replacement for your thinking. Think of it as an intern. It can help you get information quickly. It might be wrong, right? If you've ever had an intern, you know there are pros and there are cons, and you're going to have to keep up with the activity, the details that are coming out, verify what it is actually saying and what you want to move forward with. With that, Taylor mentioned OpenAI. That is the company that runs ChatGPT. Here's a couple of details about what ChatGPT is and some things with that. The reason that we do like ChatGPT also is because you can create safeguards with these systems in terms of if you ask it to do or to get you information on how to do illegal things, it will tell you no. So when we talk about safeguards at the federal level, I think those are some of the things that we're going to really be paying attention to, because those safeguards do not exist in all systems. They do not exist across the world. So as these AI systems get more powerful and learn more things, it's going to be important for us to know what those safeguards are in the systems themselves, because it's not a blanket, right? All of these different systems are run by different companies with different expectations and different intents. So the data privacy side is huge. We'll get into this a little bit in the ethics section, but we always say if you are putting something into a system, unless you have a contract with them to keep that information 100% secure, assume everything you put in there is the same thing as posting it out on a wall, like in public. We know that there are restrictions, especially with OpenAI, in terms of what they do with that data and how they use it, but we believe it's better to be cautious. So even though a lot of these things are really good and important aspects that we pulled directly from OpenAI's website, it's going to be important to assess your own level of risk and be extremely careful with what data you put into these systems. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. So, like you said, lots of things to consider there, but it is really helpful in a lot of different ways. And we do treat it like an intern. In fact, there are many times where I'll say to Erin, I'm just going to ask the intern to help me brainstorm about this. And I am lovingly referring to ChatGPT. But we use it for tasks all the time, like preparing recruitment materials. It's helped us craft job postings and recruitment flyers that are engaging and effective. When it comes to proofreading memos, we've used ChatGPT to catch lots of typos, any awkward or unclear phrasing, ensuring that everything is just polished and professional. For formatting meeting minutes and organized meeting agendas, ChatGPT can check to make sure that the details are easy to read and to reference. It also can help us create social media posts that are both creative and engaging. I don't know about you, but coming up with Instagram captions for some reason is so hard for me, and ChatGPT is really helpful with that. It can also serve as a sounding board for different ideas that we have. It can give us feedback, different perspectives that we might not have considered. It really just simplifies those complex texts into plain language, making everything easier to understand. It even translates information into other languages. Of course, I don't speak other languages, so I can't always verify how accurate it is, but from what I've heard, it's pretty dang accurate. It really just helps us communicate with a diverse audience in one way or another. On the innovation front, ChatGPT can give us feedback on our ideas, helping to refine and develop them even further. It'll suggest improvements or alternate approaches to projects and different processes, ultimately making our work more efficient. ChatGPT also can help us streamline processes, saving time and, of course, effort. When we need to prepare for challenging conversations or different negotiations, ChatGPT can be kind of a role-playing tool where you can throw different scenarios its way and help you practice and improve your approach over time. This is something that I know we've used it for quite a bit in the past. But these are, again, just examples to help show how versatile it can be, right? It's offering support for those everyday tasks that we all do and fosters innovation in our work. It's like having an extra team member or an intern who is always ready to help and enthusiastic about it too. So as we talk about these practical examples of Gen AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, all those, it's really important to keep in mind that we have to balance both the opportunities it provides and the concerns that it raises. So on the left, you're going to see some key opportunities that Gen AI can offer. For example, it can help us identify those blind spots, come up with those proactive solutions faster than traditional methods. It can introduce innovative approaches to our workflow, making processes smoother and more efficient, whether that's through organizing information or improving clarity by simplifying complicated language. Gen AI can also be a powerful tool for advancing equity in the workplace. I know that's a big deal for all of us, right? It helps us think outside the box and produce creative ideas that can support diverse perspectives. However, it's also really important to be aware of the challenges, as you'll see on the right. So accuracy, of course, is always a concern, as is the potential for bias in the data that AI models are trained on. Data privacy is another really important issue. We're going to talk about that more in the ethics piece of this presentation today, but particularly when you're handling sensitive information, right? Protected data. We always say that you shouldn't put anything into the system that you wouldn't want plastered on a billboard. So additionally, AI may not always understand the full context or relevance of certain information. Remember, it's an intern. You can tell it to imagine it's an expert in something, but the context that you provide can be incredibly helpful. And we can't forget about the environmental impacts of AI, right? Particularly in terms of the energy used to train large models. So that is also something to learn more about and consider. But as we move forward with Gen AI, keeping both those opportunities and those concerns in mind is going to allow us to use the technology both responsibly and effectively in the work that we do. I just saw a question pop up in the chat. Yes, these slides will be available on the AoS website after this conference. Good question. Okay, so to effectively implement and use Gen AI in our work, it's really important to start by asking the right questions. So first, we need to consider which tasks would benefit most from using Gen AI. And that might still be better supported by other tools, though, right? Not every task requires AI. For example, a task that might benefit from using AI could be maybe quickly scanning through a really big document and providing a concise summary. But a task that might not require AI could be some decision-making process that involves, personal, ethical, nuanced judgment, like resolving team conflicts or making hiring decisions. So in these cases, human intuition and emotional intelligence is so much more valuable than automated suggestions. So it's all really about finding the right balance here. Second, when thinking about those tasks, we need to really assess which ones involve sensitive information or data privacy concerns. We need to avoid using AI for anything that could compromise confidentiality. Again, don't give it or tell it anything that you wouldn't want on a billboard in front of your whole town. Lastly, it's important to evaluate the current level of AI literacy within the organization. So ask yourself, do me and my staff have the knowledge and skills that we need to use these tools effectively, or are there gaps that we need to address? As we noted too on the bottom, thank you for adding that, Erin. It's also critical that we approach any information provided by tools like ChatGPT or any Gen AI with oversight, ensuring that we follow the best practices to maintain accuracy and integrity in the work. Remember, it's an intern. You've got to review it still.
Yes, and to the question about, is it like posting something on social media? I mean, theoretically, it's not, but conceptually, you need to be thinking about it that way because you don't know what these companies are doing with that data. And even though they have their safeguards in place, it might be a little different.
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Erin. Okay, so if you haven't seen ChatGPT before, you might be wondering what it looks like. So we have a couple of screenshots that we will kind of walk you through here. When you open up ChatGPT, this is what it will look like, minus those red arrows and circles and whatnot. But at the bottom of the screen, there's this little gray box where you type in your query or your prompt, what you want it to do. Then on the left side, you're going to see a list. Those are the prompts that you've done in the past. It's your history of the prompts that you've done. You can revisit them and continue asking it to do more things if you ever feel like you need to revisit it, or you're wondering, what did I ask that to do and what did it say? And when you go ahead and send your prompt, it will give us that whatever it is. In this prompt example, we had it give the perspective of you're working at a rural health department, you're partnering with a local hospital, you want to add some questions to a community health survey. So in this, it just pops the response out right there, and it will go ahead and save your prompt in that history as a past prompt. So again, if you need to step away, you can always come back and revisit.
Right. So let's get into some of the fun stuff. If you have used ChatGPT or these types of generative AI systems, or you haven't, I think there's a lot to learn about prompt engineering, which is, we'll get to what that is in a second. But we like to promote this basic idea. If you're using these systems, the ABCs, where we want to use it to assess and advise on whatever we're working on. We can use it to brainstorm on our projects, or we can use it to actually create things. So whether that's documents or images or whatever it might be. So when we assess or advise, we're asking it for, I mean, basically advice on whatever's in front of us, or to help educate us on something. Brainstorming, we've done a lot of talk about when you're writing for grants. Like sometimes it's not the writing that's hard, it's coming up with the ideas and what you're actually going to be doing. So using it to brainstorm is great. And then we'll show you some examples of creating as well. But I mentioned prompt engineering. That is the term for when Taylor mentioned putting your prompt in that box. It's the term for doing that well. It's the instructions that you give, and when we engineer a good prompt, we see that there's a world of difference. So one of the examples I like to use is if you go to a restaurant and you say, "Feed me," you might get something. We don't know if you go in and say, "Give me a cheeseburger." Okay, we're getting closer. But what do you want on it? Do you want sides? Do you want, pickle, onion, lettuce, those things? So the more clear you are, the better you will get in terms of a result. So we want to make sure that you understand that it's not just going to fix everything. I've had a lot of people complain. I don't like ChatGPT. I put an email in the system and said, make this better. And what it spit out was junk. It's like, well, what does make this better? mean, right? So we have to think about what the prompt is to get us from where we are to where we want to be. It's a tool like anything else, you got to know how to use it. So a couple of tips for successful prompting: be brief, be clear, do not use anything that might be ambiguous. If you have a very complex thing you are working on, you can break it down into multiple questions. I like to say, what's a good template for X? And then it gives me a template of what should be included. And then I go into each section and talk about those. Because if you just ask it for everything all at once, it can take some shortcuts and skip things. Specify if you want a specific style, desired tone, style, how you want the response itself to be. And you can have fun with those things too. Ensure that things are neutral and unbiased. Often when I'm fact checking things with ChatGPT, I will realize I am using biased language and trying to get what I want. And it's one of those things. It's a trap. It's easy to fall into. So recognize that the prompting can also include some of your biases. And continually refine your prompt. Just because it gives you something doesn't mean you have to go with it. You can ask it why it gave you those results, or if there's anything more that you want out of it. Just because it tells you one thing, you don't have to just live with that. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about different ways to do prompts better for different areas, like learning prompts. So instead of saying, tell me about wastewater, you can say, I want to learn about wastewater, identify and share the most important 20% of learnings from this topic that will help me understand 80% of it. Doing a prompt like that will go from a brief outline to something very specific, trying to educate you about that topic. So like those little things matter in terms of how it understands what you are after and how it pulls that information back to you. Explain something to me like I'm a 5-year-old. I did this with theory of relativity and tried to explain that to my kids, and guess what? It helped. What's the most common misconceptions about a topic, and why are those incorrect? So instead of just saying, tell me about a thing or whatever you might read online, I like to do some fact checking with ChatGPT to see what it says. It's important that you prompt those things appropriately. And you can also ask for citations. So if there's something that you really want to be able to loop back to, whether it's a source or a specific research article, it will give you those. So it doesn't do it automatically all the time, but you can ask for it. Productivity prompts, ask it to draft an agenda. I will include, it's a meeting for this, these are the players, this is what we want to cover, and it will build an agenda. We all probably know the SMART framework, hopefully, SMART goals or SMART objectives in terms of specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. It can help you take the goals or the statements you have and actually help write them in those SMART frameworks. And we've seen that a lot, and it's be super beneficial. It can help you create checklists to check over things. You're not going to be an expert in everything, but it can actually help you identify what questions you should be asking, so you're getting to a better end state. Proofing and editing prompts. So proofread the text for spelling and grammar. We like to use this when we're looking for idioms or different things that might be misunderstood or misread by somebody who's like a non-English speaker or non-native English speaker. So you can ask it for these sorts of things to look for in your text. The first one, revise this email and enhance clarity, tone, ensuring it communicates urgency without being aggressive. I will use language like that a lot because I'm always in a fast-paced mode, want to get information out. I need to kind of take a deep breath and make sure I'm getting the point across the way I want. And then there's fun things. If you're scared of AI or you're worried about some of these things, start here. It's okay to do some fun prompts. You can ask it for recipes. You can ask it to have conversations with you about something. I like to see clips of movies or hear versions of songs. I'm like, what is that? And you just have to type in a few words and say, what song was that? Or what movie am I thinking of? And it will tell you those things. You can actually develop travel guides. It's a great traveling guru in terms of being able to help identify if you're taking a road trip somewhere, where should I stop? What museums are along the way? Those sorts of things. So it's got some really neat features inside of it that you may not think about using. So I will leave on this note on critical thinking. So we talked about prompt engineering. Critical thinking is key. Don't just take its answers, ask for clarifications, challenge its assumptions. request examples of things, consider alternatives based off what it's giving you, and you can actually ask for those alternatives. Explore consequences of, okay, if I send this email, what types of things might I hear back? Or I love dropping things in there and saying, what am I missing in here? What questions would people have if I send this out? Like great things to have some discussion on with the system. So I saw there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. We just wanted to take a quick 2-second pause and see if anyone wants to share how they are using AI systems right now or how you plan to be using them in the future. You can drop any of those in the chat. We're just curious kind of what's out there. Developing quizzes, sharing posts on social media. Ton of emails. Yep. I love using it for reports to challenge my assumptions on what I'm reading. So that's a great use. All right. Well, those are all great examples. All right. Well, let's move on. Taylor, this is over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. I'm loving these examples that you guys are throwing in the chat. These are all so good. To Allison's point, our county has recently passed a strong policy against using it, cautioning against accidental sharing of HIPAA. That is absolutely a concern. Private information, just one of the things that I've seen in the chat over and over again has been related to that. And just want to emphasize the importance of not putting that kind of information on in any of your prompts or anything like that. But one thing that you can do, and one thing that we've done in the past, is related to this example that I'm about to walk us through here. There's actually going to be two parts of this, and I hope you like it. I know a lot of folks on here are aspiring survey nerds, current survey nerds. This is a group of data people. So hopefully this is something that maybe you can take and apply to the work that you do too. Before we dive in, again, just want to emphasize that it is so crucial to remember that creating and or updating documents based on changes or information provided by ChatGPT should be approached with careful oversight and adherence to best practices in the field. This is bold and underlined, so you know it's important. And that's because while ChatGPT can be really helpful for generating and interpreting text or content, it really is so incredibly crucial to ensure that what it creates is both accurate and reliable. So always double check those facts, cross-reference with trusted sources. I saw something in the chat too about how it can hallucinate and provide links to made up different things. It's really important to ask it to give you the direct links if you're asking it for, specific research articles or something like that, so that you can actually go in and verify that that's what it's saying. So in our first example here, this is just our little scenario. Okay, so let's pretend, and if it's true for you, that's great, but let's pretend that you work at a rural local health department and you've partnered with your local hospital and your county officials to conduct this year's community health assessment. The assessment, like all community health assessments, is going to help identify community needs, inform the county's public health priorities for the next 3 years, all that good stuff. But one priority under consideration is the development of a new recreation center aimed at improving physical activity, social connection, and overall community well-being. So the county has asked to include survey questions to help gauge community interest in that new center. So perceived benefits, potential concerns related to the recreation center's proposal. Additionally, they want to explore how a recreation center might address existing health disparities in underserved areas. So that's the situation that we're going to lean into here as we go through these examples. So first, we're recommending a multi-prompt strategy. pretty much anytime you go in ChatGPT and do these prompts, it's really good that you start with context and clarity, right? So you provide context about, I work at a rural health department. My community wants to create this survey. Answer and ask. So you can ask ChatGPT questions and have it ask you those questions to complete a task. You'll see what that looks like here in a second. I know that sounds confusing. And then finally, reviewing and editing. So reviewing that output and providing edit instructions as needed. So here's the first prompt that we've put in, and I'll paraphrase it a little bit, but kind of like what I just said. I work at a rural health department. We're partnering with the local hospital, creating this year's CHA. One priority we're exploring is the development of a new recreation center to improve all these things. So we've got our survey purpose in there, and we've got the context about what we're aiming for. We want to include survey questions to gauge community interest, perceived benefits, potential concerns, all those things I mentioned earlier. Additionally, we want to explore how it might address health disparities. Now, here's the kicker. Based on this context, please ask me clarification questions you need to create effective survey questions. So again, we've given it all this context. We are now asking it to get clear. Give us what you need in order to give us a good answer. So when we tell ChatGPT, hey, based on this information, ask me questions that will help you clarify. And then here you will see, next slide, Erin, please. Thank you. You'll see that these are some of the things that came out of the output. So we asked it that. Then it said, here are some questions to help clarify your needs for creative, effective survey questions. It's asking about target audience. Who is going to be surveyed? The key features. Are there specific amenities or programs for the recreation center that we need feedback on? Do we want to ask about preferred location of the rec center? Do we want to include questions about potential barriers to using the center? When it comes to health disparities, are there specific health disparities or underserved groups that we need to address? If so, how do we want to explore those perceptions? Social connection, including questions on how the rec center could enhance social interaction, group activities, community events. Regardless of whether you know the answers to these questions or not, when you get them, it's really helpful to think about these things, right? You're not only giving the robot clarity, but you're also gaining some clarity for yourself too. So let's pretend that you have gone through and you have maybe worked with your team and you've answered all of these questions. So you just would put that in your next prompt with something along the lines of, please use the answers below to create up to 5 survey questions to add to our community health assessment. And then you literally just copy and paste those answers within your prompt. And then, boom, you will see that it will create survey questions. Granted, they won't come out like this. I copied and pasted them and put them into a test Alchemer survey so you could see what the end kind of product would look like. But it comes up with a handful of questions here, just like we asked it to. How likely are you to use a new community rec center if it includes features like this, this, and this? What potential barriers might prevent you or your family from using it? How important is it to you that it provides access to fitness facilities and safe spaces? What factors are most important to you when choosing the location? Would you like to participate in focus groups or community meetings to help shape the recreation's design and programs? So these are just some of those drafted survey questions that it came up with based on your prompt, your answers. And yeah, this is the output. So now comes the review and edit, arguably one of the most important pieces of this. There are a few different ways that you can go with it. You can use all of these, but you can have it match the tone and voice of the questions to the rest of the community health assessment. You can upload it or copy and paste the rest of your CHA, and it'll look at the language that's used, the tone and voice, and it can match your new questions to that. It can completely rephase questions to avoid any jargon. I know in public health, we love to use language like social determinants of health and things like that, but it can help kind of rephrase those so that it's a little bit clearer for audiences that might not be as so familiar with that jargon. Ensuring that all language is under a 6th grade reading level. This is one we use a lot. 6th grade reading is the average in America, so we try to lean into that. Reviewing questions for unintentional bias or leading language. So just making sure that we're not using any of that biased language. Identifying and rewriting ambiguous questions. If there's anything that's unclear, it can help us figure out how to make the question a little bit more targeted. And it can also help you think about your survey question format, if things make more sense in multiple choice, Likert, open-ended, all that kind of stuff. There's so much it can do, even just within survey development. So let's move into our second example here, which is going to kind of build on what we've already talked about here. Analyzing survey data. I saw something in the chat earlier about how someone uses it to help make graphs and things. That is really awesome. Just so you know, ChatGPT does a lot of things really well when it comes to analyzing data of any kind. It can identify themes and patterns, summarizing key ideas, recurring topics, especially with open text. It can have illustrative examples, unique perspectives, suggesting next steps. For qualitative data, it's really great because it focuses on those textual patterns rather than numerical data. It can give time-saving summaries, especially when you have a lot of feedback. And it can encourage collaborative analysis by generating insights that you can even review and refine. But there are also some things that ChatGPT absolutely should not do, and that's handle raw survey data uploads. We've tested this with some fake data in the past just to see if it's possible. It's possible, but it doesn't do a great job. Even after you de-identify data, it just doesn't quite get as detailed or as accurate as maybe I would like. So I would really, really caution you if you plan on uploading data into ChatGPT for analysis. It just doesn't work as well as you might hope or think. It definitely does not replace human interpretation. So combining those AI generated insights with your expertise can help ensure accuracy and context relevance. Okay. Just a quick note here. If you are ever going to use Gen AI to analyze data, it is really important that you do it in one of these two ways. Option one, you can use a closed loop system. So these are secure systems where data stays entirely within a controlled environment and minimizes external exposure. It's like kind of private. Or option two is you can de-identify your data, remove any personal identifiers from data to prevent linking it to someone. So either of these are good options that can help safeguard sensitive information while also leveraging AI. Okay, so let's pretend that one of the questions that we added to our CHA to ask about the rec center was open-ended. And we asked, what ideas, concerns, or suggestions do you have about the proposed community recreation center and how it could best serve you and your community? And hypothetically, let's say people were really jazzed about putting their feedback in there. And these were all responses that we got on those questions. So there's 15 responses here. Nope, these are not real answers. These are fake data that I actually asked ChatGPT to put together for me for the purposes of today. So here's our prompt. Hey, ChatGPT, a few months ago, my team at the local health department conducted a CHA. We added a couple questions to collect initial feedback on adding a new recreation center from community members. We have that feedback now. The open text question we asked was this. The answers from respondents have been copied and pasted below. Please review these answers to this question and provide a summary of the main themes or patterns that emerge, specific examples or quotes from feedback that illustrate each theme, outliers or unique perspectives that could be worth noting, suggesting or how these themes could inform next steps in planning. And then you copy and paste your qualitative text there. So then in the output here, what you'll see is it talks a lot about accessibility and transportation, right? So it even gives us our example quotes underneath it. Affordability, cost is a recurring theme, programming for specific groups. And again, we have our quoted data underneath each of these to kind of help drive it. And yes, I did double check that all of these were real. Granted, there's only 15 here, but in some cases, you might have a lot more than 15. So it's really important to make sure you go through and double check that they are all real quotes. Some additional kind of output we can fly through here, Erin, but we have outliers or unique perspectives. So it talks a little bit about outdoor spaces and educational workshops. There's also some suggestions for next steps that it provides as well. So yeah, that's our little example for you today.
And I know you said it, Taylor, but I'm going to reiterate because of some of the chat. Everything you just walked through is a really great innovative use of these AI systems in survey, development, review, analysis. And keep in mind, there are safeguards that need to be put in place. You need to really think about how you use these systems. And this will not replace somebody's job. You will not magically be able to have somebody who knows nothing about surveys do everything that Taylor just showed, and it's going to be perfect. Intern. We can't stress that enough. It's a great crutch. It's a great helper. It is not a replacement for your thinking. You will find lots of holes, which some of the chat has pointed out. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. We're going to turn to the ethical, responsible use side of AI. One of the things we like to talk about is, what are you wanting a policy for? What type of guidelines do you want to set for your organization? So there was the comment in the chat about, some organizations are just shutting down AI use and saying you can't do it. Well, that doesn't work because if you do a Google search, AI is in the background. If you use a lot of systems out there, as Taylor mentioned, it's not just these like ChatGPT standalone systems, it's also being included in all sorts of things now. So a blanket policy is not going to do anyone any good. You really have to think about what are we trying to protect? What are we trying to achieve? What are we really wanting to do? And lead with that aspect before you even get into writing any guidelines, policies, expectations. So these are a few of the key questions that we recommend starting these discussions with. I don't know how many of your organizations have policies or guidelines. I'm guessing that more and more are going to start having those. So as we think about that aspect, and then how do we go about developing, how we deploy this in our work, there's lots of things to think about. These are the four big ones, which we've touched on some of these. Data privacy, making sure we're being compliant and staff are trained on how to use these systems. I can't tell you how many times we have presented and like staff say, well, nobody in my organization does this. And then the person next to them says, actually, I do, because we don't talk about it a lot. So that definitely is something we need to get used to doing is the training piece, the conversation piece. Bias, we've talked about, you can be bias in your prompts, you can get bias in what's reported out. These are things we're going to have to be aware of, and that we have some sort of subject matter expert reviewing anything and everything that's coming out of these systems and thinking about the bias aspect of it. Human oversight, policies, guidelines need to address to make sure that people aren't taking the easy way out. That's one of our biggest fears with any AI use, is that people are going to copy and paste it. And when you do that, people notice. It is obvious. So be aware that human oversight of everything that might be, especially if it's going out in public, needs to have that human touch to it. And I said that, sorry, SME is subject matter expert. So authorship transparency, this is a big one as well. If you create something out of these systems, whether it's a sentence, whether it's a paragraph, whether it helped restructure a paragraph or an entire document, who owns that? And that's something that is kind of a legal thing right now that is still being debated across the board. I know you cannot copyright things that are generated by AI systems. That's something new that happened in 2024. You actually have to be able to prove that you are the author and not these systems. So a lot of this is still developing in terms of that authorship and copyright pieces. There's a lot more we can go into today, but we want to save some time for questions. These are some of the big ones. I know the environmental piece of it is a big one as well. We actually had some slides in a different PowerPoint talking about that more. The environmental piece is complicated, and I really appreciate the individual who mentioned that you can actually look at these systems and find the ones that are using less energy, but they're changing all the time. So it's kind of hard to keep track of. The one thing I will say from looking at the World Health Organization and some of the reports that have been put out there, it's really the training of these systems that is having the biggest environmental impact. So not individual use, which we're of course driving it, but when the systems upgrade, when you hear about ChatGPT 4 rolling out from ChatGPT 3, those models and the development of them is really what's causing the big aspects of kind of energy drains and environmental impacts. We were having a lot of progress in the US talking about environmental laws and how we were going to leverage those to help support and understand and improve AI. And I believe that is all no longer a thing. So I think it's been more important than ever for us to pay attention to those environmental aspects. So for you and next steps, if you're in your organization, you're wanting to use these systems, you don't have guidelines, it's important to develop those, not just to start using the systems like Taylor and I have kind of talked about and shown you. You want to do a step-by-step cautious approach. Make sure you're doing things right, ensuring the data privacy piece of this. We started, the reason we've really leaned into this is because we have a group of folks in our organization that are passionate about this, wanted to learn more, develop ways that we can use these systems. Getting a small group to test these things and have these conversations is an important first step. Educate employees about this use. I mentioned in one of the comments about the if organizations are flat out saying don't use these systems, well, we need to be educating all of the details about them in order to make some progress. Lastly, track performance. Just because we're using these systems, they can actually send you in rabbit holes. They can save you tremendous amounts of time. They can also be a time suck. So be aware, be cautious, and again, track those sorts of things so that you know and understand how you're using the systems. I think that kind of covers the gist of it. I don't know if there's additional questions in the chat we want to tackle.
I think you and Taylor have been answering most of them as they've come through. You've answered the environmental one. If you also feel free to unmute if we have skipped or missed your question. We have a couple minutes left, so.
Yeah, and I saw there were several comments on the environmental thing, and trust me, I'm a huge environmental type person, and some of the reports that have come out that are questioning all the details of the studies that are happening around energy use are very interesting. So it's again, it's something that we are continually paying attention to see what aspects of that are we learning from all the different studies that are going on across the world, because it's not just in the US.
There are two questions. One is they've never used it for work. Is it ideal to start an account? Taylor kind of answered it and said you can create a free version. And then someone asked, is this how it learns from questions you ask from it?
So yes, and make sure that your organization is okay with you doing that. And as far as the learning from the questions, that's where it's not individual stuff. It's at the end of a period, there will be specific things that these companies will pull out from how the systems are being used and reprogram and retool and check into their algorithm. So it's kind of an in-depth process as we understand it. But yes, so when you use these systems in some form or fashion, that information will be used to help kind of redo the next model that it will be learning from you. There are memories with some of these systems. So if you, I think this was a big thing on Meta's AI, is that as you use this and you tell it, well, I'm vegan, and like a month later you ask for a recipe on something, it'll know you're vegan, it'll give you a vegan recipe. Some people don't want that, especially if you use these systems for lots of different purposes. Like you don't want that memory in there. So the systems will vary based off how it knows who you are and what you're doing with the systems. We don't have time to get into all of those, and we're still learning because again, new systems are coming out all the time, and they're changing the systems regularly. Great questions.
It's true. ChatGPT updates all the time. There was once upon a time where we created a guide on how to use a system called Dolly, and then literally 2 weeks later, the whole thing changed. So it's happening fast. I don't see any other questions in the chat.
Well,
I
I
think,
had one. I
oh, go
had
ahead.
one. This is Pamela. I don't use it a lot. I saw an email come through that said don't use it, period. But when I first saw it, I was concerned about plagiarism. You know, how do we ensure that what it's giving us isn't plagiarized? Is that a valid question?
Absolutely, it is. And I'd say there's two sides to that. One is it goes back to that, like, what are you using the system for? If you're learning or using it to learn about something or to, add some piece of information to something, if you're putting that out publicly, yeah, plagiarism could be a thing to worry about, right? But I mean, if it's just internal stuff, maybe you don't have to worry about as much. Then on the aspect of if you're putting something out there and it's generated by ChatGPT or any of these different systems, you need to be aware. You can ask it questions. Where did you pull this information? Can I use this? Is this being plagiarized? You can actually ask the system that, and it'll tell you if it generated
Yeah.
it from
Uh-huh.
scratch or if it pulled it from somewhere.
Thank you.
But always be cautious.
As soon as I typed the question, I went, duh. He said you could specify. But thank you for the answers.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I don't see anyone else unmuting. If you have more questions about AI, Erin and I love to nerd out about this stuff. So feel free to send us a direct message anytime throughout the rest of the afternoon. Shoot us an email. We'd be happy to talk a little bit more about that with all of you. Thank you.
I have a comment about data centers and energy. Living in Utah, we have Google, Facebook, the federal government. I mean, it's incredible. All of them are coming to Utah because of the water coming out of the mountains at such steep terrains, and it's incredible for the makers of these. They are looking towards environmental friendly solutions off of our reservoirs. And it's incredible how much is in Utah, but because of that. So those are some good signs that are coming out in the next year or two, which is very promising.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Jake. And thank you all again so much for being here with us today. And a big thanks to Aaron for sharing his AI expertise with all of us. Before we take a short break and transition into this afternoon's breakout sessions, I just wanted to give you a quick reminder about what breakout options we have when we return. I know I went through it very briefly this morning, but we've all eaten and stretched and stuff since then. So when you come back from the break, you're going to have 3 options of breakout sessions to attend. You can either attend the first breakout session on Public Health Survey School in breakout room 1. If you want to attend the session on Alchemer Essentials, Best Practices and Beyond, just as a reminder, Alchemer is the survey tool that AoS members have access to. But if you want to learn more about that, you can go to Breakout Room 2. Or if you'd like to attend the session From Insight to Action, a Foodborne Illness Survey Success Story, check out Breakout Room 3. I've heard that presentation before from Brandon. He came to our monthly AoS meeting in Kansas, and I was like, you got to tell more people about this. It's so cool. Just like this morning's sessions, if you do not select a breakout room, we will randomly assign one to you. So please go ahead and select the one that's most interesting to you. Don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of my co-hosts or hosts with WSU in their name, especially if you have questions. We're also going to re-upload the session descriptions and speaker biographies to the Zoom chat if you'd like to check those out. But with that, we are going to get set up for a little break here, and we would like everyone to be back here at 2:45 Eastern time. So we've got a 10-minute break. We'll see you all in 10. Thanks, everyone. All right, about 20-ish more seconds. Hope you all had a good break. We tried to build in a lot of these breaks today. We weren't so good about that last year, but we wanted to make sure everyone had plenty of time for that this year. All right, our timer is officially done, so let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. Welcome back. Hope you had a refreshing break, refilled your coffee, got some water, stretched a little bit. All the things you need to do to stay present with us today. We appreciate you being here. As promised, it's now time to open up our afternoon breakout rooms, which we're going to open, I think now. Yep, awesome, thank you. Please select the room with the session that you would like to attend. We'll see you back here in the main room in 1 hour for some final closing words from our AoS director, Jake Holdaway. Again, if you don't select a room, we will randomly pick one for you. So make sure you pick the one that is most interesting to you. Your options are on the screen, and we'll see you back here in an hour. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone to session 2 or of the breakouts this afternoon. So this session will walk through the step-by-step process of creating a survey using Alchemer while exploring all those essential features to enhance survey development. You'll discover advanced strategies for streamlining workflows, optimizing analysis, and effectively integrating key features into the survey creation process. You will also learn how to leverage Alchemer's tools to build efficient reporting frameworks and achieve data collection goals with actionable insights. And so we have the honor today of presenting Dr. Lindsay Blair. She's assistant professor at Bellarmine, and she also holds a PhD in epidemiology and population health, an MPH and a BS in biology from the University of Louisville. She serves as the AoS librarian for Kentucky. And then she's formerly the senior community epidemiologist at Lincoln Control District Health Department. She specializes in biostatistics, environmental health. Her research centers on radon exposure's effects on breast cancer survival and legal epidemiology regarding arsenic in private well water and bladder cancer. Dr. Blair teaches advanced statistics and managerial epidemiological methods, and then combining her expertise in biological sciences and population health dynamics. So without further ado, Dr. Blair, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. So like Elizabeth said, we're going to go over some best practices in Alchemer. But first, maybe if I can get the slides moved, we're just having an overview. So just give a little introduction of Alchemer, the goals of the session, and then the specific topics that we're going to cover. But while I'm doing that, maybe Elizabeth, if you could drop a link in the chat, or you can scan the QR code from your phone, and I'll show you how to print those QR codes for Alchemer surveys later if you don't know how. But there's just a quick Alchemer poll. We just want to know the experience that you have. Maybe you have zero experience with Alchemer. Maybe you are an expert and you know more than I do. If so, feel free to chime in throughout the presentation. So while you do that, I'll just walk through the session objectives. So we are actually going to walk through a step-by-step process today of creating a survey in Alchemer. And while we do that, we'll explore some of the essential features that help enhance survey development for you, for the end user, and even for whoever's going to analyze your survey. We'll also discover some advanced strategies for streamlining workflows and optimizing analysis by using things like aliases in our exports. And then we'll leverage Alchemer's tools that are available within Alchemer to build efficient reporting frameworks and achieve some of the data collection goals that you might have. So the specific topics that we're going to cover, we will go through creating a survey, distributing the survey, and reporting the survey. So we'll go over some of the different question types that are available. We'll show you how to do some skip or disqualify logic. We'll go through piping and repeating, how to use merge codes, global questions. Those are great, especially for demographics. If you want to use, say, you want to ask age the same way throughout multiple surveys. And then we'll go through some styling. Maybe you want to add your logo to the surveys. We'll walk through how to do that. And then when you distribute your survey, there's ways that you can do that through email campaigns. You can print those QR codes like you maybe just used for this quick survey that you took. You can embed the survey directly into a website, and you can even provide different tracking links. So I know we did that a lot at the health department. If we had surveys that were being filled out by hand and then someone was entering them, you had that person use a different link in case there was a question or an error. We could always go back, oh, hey, you entered this. Can you help us walk through that? So that's distributing. And then we'll end with reporting. We'll go through exports where question aliases come in handy. We'll also talk about the reporting feature in Alchemer, and we'll show you different ways how to filter reports. So I think with that, maybe we'll just log into Alchemer here. So feel free, if you are an Alchemer user and you have an account, to go ahead and log on, and maybe you want to create this survey with me. So the first thing that we do, this is the screen that pops up when you log into Alchemer, and we are going to create a survey. So we go here to create new. If you go down to the little arrow here, you can create a survey, a form. You can even create a poll, which is really great. Maybe that's what we should have used for our quick little survey, but you can create a quiz and it'll grade it for you, or even a payment form. Say you need you have a survey where you're asking people to pay. There's a payment form that you can create. But today we're just going to walk through creating a survey, which is probably what we use most in public health. So the first thing that we want to do is look here. We can create a blank survey. We can use a template. Maybe your local health department AoS chapter has created a bunch of templates, like a community health assessment template, and you want to use that template. You can, that's where you would go here and use a template. You could copy a survey. Maybe you did a similar survey last year and you just want to copy that one and make changes to it. You can copy it. You can even import from Word. If you first created the survey in Word, you can import it into Alchemer. Or if maybe you had another platform before you found how great Alchemer was, and you download all of those surveys into Word from that platform, you can upload those here as well. But today we're going to start with a blank survey, and we're going to do a fun survey. We're going to talk about dream vacation. So we're just going to give it a name. Dream vacation survey. You can see I practiced this earlier, but we're not going to use the old one. So you choose a team is the next thing that you do. And it always defaults to the Alchemer team that you are on, but you can change it here. I am with AoS leadership, so I always like to change it to AoS leadership so I don't clog up Lincoln trails whenever I make surveys for AoS. So I'm going to go ahead and change that here. And then we start building. So then we come to our build tab for our survey. And the first thing that I like to do on any survey is add instructions. Let people know the objective of my survey, why they are taking this. So in order to do that, we use the text media option here on the title page. So before I do anything else, add any questions, I add text media. So here's our media. This is where we can type in our instructions, and I cheated. I have them over here to copy and paste in so that you don't have to watch me type. So here we have our instructions. Maybe I want to make the word instructions bigger. I can highlight it and change the size. I want to draw this to people's attention that it's instructions. Maybe I want to make that a red. So in that case, you would, I think these are called ellipses. I'm not real sure. The 3 dots over here to the right of the screen. And here we can change the color of our wording. We can even give it a background if we want to. So I'm going to go ahead there and make that red so everyone can see that these are our instructions. Maybe I want to add, numbers here or bullet points. I can do that. You can organize it however you want. So that this is a great feature. And that's all we need here. I just want the instructions to show up on the first page of the survey. So we're going to go ahead and hit Save Text Media. So now that people know what our survey is about, another option that we can do is ask them, do they even want to take this survey? Maybe they didn't know what they were signing up for and they read it like, no, I don't really care about dream vacation. I don't want to take your survey. So we can add a question here, and we're just going to start with a radio button question, and we're going to ask our participants if they would like to participate in this survey. A radio button means that you can only choose one option, and that's what we want to choose here. So we're going to say, yes, I would like to participate, and our other option is no, I would not like to participate. And we're going to go ahead and check this box here to require this question. You don't have to require this question, but I want to make sure I'm gathering everyone's response here. So we're going to hit yes. And we don't have any logic or anything, so we're just going to hit save. Now, if people select no, it probably makes sense to go ahead and send them to the thank you page, because if I say no and then the next question is a question on the survey, that just defeats the purpose of this question. So in that case, we can add skip disqualify logic. So in order to do that, we go down here to skip disqualify logic. Go ahead and click on that. And we want to add our logic condition. So here we're going to select a condition, and we're going to choose that question that we just created. Would you like to participate in this survey? So if the respondent chooses no here, so we click no, and you can say is one of the following answers or is not one of the following answers. You can even say if this question is answered or not answered. But in our case, we're going to say is one of the following answers yes. So if the participant chooses yes, we will send the survey to a survey page number. And in this case, we're going to send it to the thank you page. So this means that if they check no to they would not like to participate in our study, it will go ahead and send them to the thank you page and complete that survey for them. So then they don't even have to bother scrolling through the rest of the questions. So let's go ahead, and we can mark the survey as complete once this process happens. So we'll hit save action here. So now we have instructions. We've asked if they would like to participate in our study. We've set up a skip disqualify action for if they respond no. So now we're ready to start adding the remainder of our questions to our study. So in that case, we're going to add a new page here. And we're going to start adding some questions. So the first question that we would like to add, I'll go back. So in order to add a new question, you hit add new question down here. You can also give this page a title, but it's not necessary. So we'll go down to question. And in this case, I want them to be able to check more than one answer for this question. So instead of a radio button, I'm going to change it to a checkbox, because with a checkbox, they can have multiple choices. So my question here is, which of these destinations would you like to visit? So then I'm going to give them a list of destinations that they can choose from. So would they like to go on a beach paradise or a mountain retreat? And you see it defaults to 2 options, but we can add as many as we want. Actually, I did a survey the other day where I had 120 options, but that's how many counties that we have in Kentucky. So here I'll add another one. I want to know, maybe they want to go on a city adventure. Maybe they want to go on a safari expedition, but maybe they want to do something that I didn't list here. So in that case, we can add in other options. So down here we have, we can click this add other, and we can add an all of the above. So it would add, maybe you want to go to all of the above places. You can add a not applicable. Maybe they don't ever get to go on vacation. Oh, maybe they're in prison. This is not applicable to them. None of the above, or we can have an other and write in. And in this case, that's what we want to do. If they choose other, we want to know where they would like to go. So I'm going to choose write in required. That way, if they choose other, it's required that they tell me where they want to go. But there's also that option there that was write in, and it's not required. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna require this question as well. And we're gonna hit save question. So now we know where they would like to go. So let's say I want to add follow-up questions for each destination that they chose. And if they chose beach paradise and mountain retreat, I want the next questions to ask them about their beach paradise and their mountain retreat. So we are going to repeat these questions. So we're going to add a new page here. If you want to repeat questions, you have to be on a different page from the original question. That's why we're adding a new page here instead of adding more questions, because you can add more questions here. But since I want the next questions to repeat based on the answer choices in this question, we add a new page. So we want these, we're going to add 2 questions here, and we want each of these questions to repeat. So we're going to have this page repeat. So here next to add page title, we're going to click the little pencil icon to hit edit page. And now we're going to go up here to repeat. And we want, right now this page is not repeated, but we're going to go to the drop down here, and we're going to repeat it for which of these destinations would you like to visit. So now this page is going to repeat as many, if they selected all 4 of those vacation options, this page is going to repeat 4 times. And that's what we want. And also, when I ask the next question, I want them to know whether they're answering about beach paradise or mountain retreat or city adventure or their safari. So I want to add that piped value, which is the question that, which is the answer choice that they chose. I want to add that in the next question title. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this merge code here, page piped value. So you can highlight it and right click and hit copy, or you can highlight it and do Control C on your keyboard. So we're going to copy that and we're going to save this page. And now it'll tell us here that this page repeats based on the selected answers in this question here, which is ID 6. And it tells us it's ID 6. So now we're ready to add those questions. So let's go ahead and add our first question. And we want to know what type of accommodation, oh, I can spell today, do you prefer during your, and this is where I want the word beach paradise or mountain retreat or whatever they selected in question ID 6. So now we're going to paste in that merge code that we copied from the repeat on the page. So we're going to add that there, and then vacation. So now when this question comes up, it'll say, what type of accommodation do you prefer during your beach resort, beach paradise vacation? And then the next time the page repeats, if they chose mountain retreat, it will say, what type of accommodation do you prefer during your mountain retreat vacation? So that way they know which option they are answering for. So let's go ahead and paste in some values. Oh, I pasted it up there. Paste in some values here. We got hotel, a resort. I like to stay in a resort, a hostel, maybe never. A vacation home. Oh, those are nice too, like an Airbnb. Camping. I'm not really a camping girl. And then other, and we'll go ahead and do the other write-in required this time. So there's a lot of options here that you can see. So we're going to go ahead and make this a drop down menu. So you can see over here to the left, where we can see our question, it's a drop down menu. And maybe we want them to be able to choose more than one drop down. So in that case, we're going to go to the validation because maybe they like to stay at a hotel, but maybe they also like to stay at a resort. They don't really care which one. So we're going to go to the validation tab. And we're going to check the box next to allow survey takers to select more than one option from this drop-down menu. Because by default, drop-down menus, you can only have one answer choice. But we want them to be able to check multiple. But maybe they don't know how to check multiple because there's no checkbox that they just click. You have to actually press and hold Control. So we're going to go to the Layout tab, and we're going to add some additional instructions for them here. So I'm going to paste my instructions here, telling them to press and hold Control to select multiple items. And I want that to be italicized so that they know it's not part of the question. And I also want to change the color here. I like this red to really draw it to their attention that this is how you do that. And if you, by default, it goes underneath of the question title, but you can also click this box and have it show the instructions above the question title. But I like it underneath. So we're just going to go ahead and hit Save Question there. So now you can see all of our options, and there's our additional instructions there to press and hold Control to select multiple items. Now we are also going to add another question here. We're going to say, what excites you most about visiting your destination? And this is an open-ended question. So I don't want to give them options. I want them to be able to type in what excites them most. So we're going to change the question type up here. Go to the drop down, and we could do a text box or an essay long answer. Maybe they have a long answer. They're long worded, not like me. So we're going to go ahead and hit essay there. We're going to require this question. So now they can type in whatever they want. And you'll see in the question, I brought in that merge code again so that they know that they're answering either about their beach or mountain or city or safari vacation. So we can hit Save there. Now we want to ask them a question, but it's related to any dream vacation. It doesn't matter which one. So we don't want those questions to repeat. So we're going to go to a new page because remember we had this page 3 repeat, but the next questions we don't want to repeat. So we're going to add a new page here again. And we are going to, maybe we want them to rate how important it is to experience new cultures on their vacation. So in that case, we'd add a question, and we want them to rate it like a Likert scale. So we're going to change this to a rating. And maybe we don't like, very dissatisfied. That doesn't really make any sense with our question here. Let me paste in our question. I believe experiencing new cultures is an important part of my experience. The default here is very dissatisfied. That doesn't really make any sense. I want it to say like, I strongly agree, I disagree. So I could type those in here, or I could go over to the common answer library, which comes in really handy, and there's options on most question types. So let's go to our common answer library, open up our drop-down menu. We could add here numbers 1 to 100. We could say on a scale 1 to 100, how much do you believe experiencing new cultures is important? We could also do, this is the default is the very dissatisfied. You can have it 1 to 3 options, 1 to 5, and so on. But in this case, I want to know whether you agree or you don't agree, or you're maybe neutral. So I'm going to say rating agree 1 to 5. And you'll see how it updates here. So now I believe experiencing new cultures is important is strongly disagree all the way to strongly agree. So that common answer library really, it saved me a little bit of time having to type all these in. So I really like that common answer library feature. So we can go ahead and hit save question here. And maybe now we also want to ask some demographic questions. And we know that as a group, our local health department, Academy of Science chapter has decided that as a group, we're going to ask gender a certain way every time. We're going to ask race a certain way every time. And we have put that in the global library. So now we want to be able to use those questions in our survey so that we're asking them in the most appropriate way. So in order to add one of those global questions, we choose here, instead of add new question, we're going to add a library item. And if you choose it, it automatically pops up all of them, but you can also go to the drop down here and choose which one. I'm not honestly sure if you can see more than just your states, but for now we're going to choose demographics because that is available to us. So we have put in our library, we put a question on gender. So I want to ask that question on gender. If I wanted to use race and sexuality, you could choose those and they would also import at the same time. But we're just going to start with gender and we're going to save our question. Maybe. Oh, okay. So there it is. Oh, I added it way more than one time. So we're just going to go ahead and delete that one. And you can see, wait a minute, it has an orange box around it. That means that that question is linked. So when you go to analyze, you can analyze this question. It's linked to other surveys. So in this case, we're going to unlink it. We don't want it to be linked to other surveys. So we're going to go back into edit. And we're going to unlink this element. So now the orange box is gone and it's no longer, when someone analyzes this question, it won't pull in our results from our survey. So that's really helpful. I love the library items. We use those a lot for the demographic questions. And also if there's, we have 120 counties in Kentucky, and I swear on like every single one of our surveys, we ask which county you're affiliated with. And if we leave it open-ended, sometimes a county is spelled wrong or they put the word county in, other times they don't. So I like to give them a drop-down option. And without that library item, I would have to enter 120 counties every single time I did that question. And that would not be fun or useful, good use of my time. So I put that question in the global library, and then I can pull that into all of my surveys. It's very beneficial. Okay, so now this is our short survey on your dream vacation. So we're done. So now we're not going to add any more questions, but we do want a thank you page to come up when someone hits submit. And this comes up by default. It says, thank you for taking our survey. Your response is very important to us. But we can edit that as well. So let's go into edit. Let's say maybe someone hit submit by accident and they forgot to choose Safari. They forgot they want to take a Safari expedition and they want to be, you want them to be able to go back in and edit their survey. So in order to do that, you in the thank you page, you can add an edit link. So how do we do that? We go back to our little three dots here. And we're going to choose, actually, you don't have to go to the three dots. We're going to choose merge codes. And we could add our questions, but we want to add that edit link. So we're going to go to about the respondent, and then we're going to click insert next to the edit link, or you can just click the edit link. Sorry. So now when the thank you page comes up, there will be an edit link for people to go back in and edit their survey. But if you don't want anyone to be able to edit their survey after they've sent it to you, then do not add the survey link. But I think it comes in handy. One time we had a survey that was, oh, Elizabeth, you have to help me. There was like 7,000 questions on it, I swear. And I had someone from the health department reach out to me and she said, oh no, something happened and I accidentally hit submit and I was halfway through it. So we were able to provide her with an edit link, and she was so thankful to not have to start over from the very beginning of that survey. So edit links come in really handy. So now we've updated our thank you, and there are some actions that we can add now. I know that I like to get alerted on some of my surveys whenever a response comes in. So we can add an action here. This is really useful, and it is a send email action. And this allows you to send an email to you, to anyone. Like I could send an email to Elizabeth when someone completes a survey. I could send a copy of the survey responses to the participant. So we're going to go ahead and do send email option here. So we're going to add it so that at the end, at the completion of that survey, it can send an email. For default, the email will look like it's coming from Alchemer, which is fine, but you can also change that to whatever you want there. You can change that line. And then reply to, right now it's set up where you can't reply, but you can change that. Maybe I want them, if they hit reply, I want them to be able to reply to me. So I can change and put my email address there. And then the two, now this is where we decide who we want this survey to go to. If we want it to, this email, if we want it to go to the survey taker, we have to add an option to pull in the email address. So, well, I forgot to do that, but we'll go back and do it. So here is two. Right now, I just want it to send it to me. I want a copy of all of the surveys that come in. And you can also edit this message down here at the bottom. I always just delete the sample text here, and I like to see the responses that were entered. So I would go in and type the first question here, but you can put whatever you want in this email message. But if you also want to know the responses, you can type in the question, and then you can use those merge codes that we learned about earlier to input the question response. So here, which of these destinations would you like? You can go to the merge code and stay on the page and questions tab. And maybe we want to know which of these destinations would you like. So you click that question, and we want to know whatever they answered. So say Elizabeth takes this survey, she hits complete, and if I choose question answer here, it will tell me her question answer on that. And you can go through and do that for every single question. And we do that a lot. It comes in handy. That way I don't have to go back into Alchemer and be like, oh, they like that, or they're with this health department, or whatever your question is. It just comes up in my email, and I can easily see that. So if we hit save this action, then this email will be sent to myself or whoever that you put there at every single time a survey is completed. But if we want to send it to the respondent, we have to collect their email address. So let's go back up here and to our last page that we created, and let's add another question. And let's say I want to know their name and their email address. So I can say, hi, Elizabeth, thank you for taking our survey. So in that case, we're going to change our question type. And since I'm collecting two different things on the same person, I'm going to use custom group here. So in my group description, I'm going to say, please provide the following information. And then I'm asking them for their name. So you see down here, we have sub questions. So the first one is I want their name. And then the second one, I want their email address. You'll see over here that by default, the second sub question is that essay question, but the email address is very small and it will fit in a text box. So I don't want to give them that big of a box. So I am going to edit this question type. And to do that, you click the pencil next to it. And you can change that particular question type from essay, long answer to text box. And you can see that it updated over here on the left. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this question and save it again. And then it brings me back to the parent question. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and hit save, but I do want you to know that you can add multiple sub questions here. Maybe I also want to know maybe their title or where they work or something. You can add a sub question here. But for our case, we're just going to collect their name and email address. So now we're going to save that question. And here it is. Please provide the following information and your name and your email address. So now if I want to send an email, you can send another email. You could go back and edit the email that was just sent. But let's just go ahead and edit the email that was sent. So here, oh, I forgot to finish typing in. If you want to add more than one person, you would hit a comma. And now we want the survey taker's email address because we want this survey to be sent to the survey taker as well. So we're going to click survey taker down next to quick fills. And then it's asking where in the survey is their email address. So if we click that drop down, we'll scroll all the way down because remember it was the last question that we asked, and we choose email and then hit save. So now it is going to send the copy of this email to myself as well as the survey taker. So that's one way to be able to send emails of how the person answered each question to the survey taker. It comes in handy. I really like it.
I just wanted to pop in quick. We got just under 10 minutes left.
Oh my gosh, already?
The time flies
Okay.
when you're having fun.
Time flies. You're so right. Okay. Well, let's jump to styling because right now, let's go up to so we were on the build tab. Let's go to the style tab. And it's spinning. Still spinning. You can style your survey. You can add your logo. You can change the colors. Right now, it's just that dreary white background, nothing exciting. So you can add a logo. Your logo, it doesn't have to be your logo. It can be any image. So we're going to click Add Image. And you can either choose the image URL. Maybe you found an image online that you really like, or you can upload it from your computer and add it here. In this case, I've already added a cute little vacation one. So I'm going to click on that and insert image. And you can see you can make it smaller or bigger. You see it over here, changing sizes. You can put it in the left, the center, or the right, but I kind of like it in the left. But it's still this white header and I don't really like it. Well, you can change the header colors, you can change the page color, you can change the whole background color. You can choose from these colors or enter your hex code if you know it. Or you can even select it from the image. Maybe I want one of these colors. Maybe you have logo colors and you can select that color from the image. But now that I've changed that, I can't really see the lettering there. So in that case, we go down here to text and we can change that text, that color to white. So now it really pops against that blue background and it's a much prettier survey to take. So then we can hit apply changes. So that is styling your survey. Oh shoot, I'm not sure what's most important to go to next, but we'll go back to the build tab. So now that we have our survey built, we are ready to share it. So let's go, actually, let's test it first. First thing you do is test it. You can either test it manually here, or you can invite others to test it by sending them a link. We're gonna test it manually. So it comes up, it's that pretty vacation survey that we put in. There's our instructions. Just want to test our logic. Remember we said, would you like to participate in this survey? We said if they hit no, it would go to the thank you page, and that's exactly what happened. It went to the thank you page. So it's really, really important for you to test your survey, especially if you added a lot of that logic, because sometimes I found multiple times I didn't do it right, and it would have been embarrassing if I sent that survey out like that. So you definitely want to test your survey first, and you can automatically generate test data too if you're trying to get your reporting and your exports in line before you start collecting data, real live data as well. We can also go to the share tab, and here is where we share, say, our survey. We tested it, it's ready to go. This is where you get the link here to send to other people to take your survey. Once you start collecting information, the map will update as well as the graph here. This is where we talked about sending that new tracking link. If you click that, it will give you a new link. You can give it a name. So maybe this is Elizabeth's link. Elizabeth Kneebone. I don't know. That's definitely not you, Elizabeth, but another Elizabeth tracking link, and you can open it or close it. That way, every time Elizabeth enters it, then I know because she used this specific link. And then earlier, you filled out a survey for me and you used a QR code. This is where I got that QR code from. Here you can just print a QR code. I took a snippet of this. You can copy and paste this. You can save this to your computer as well. So that comes in handy. And then here's where you get the embed code to embed it into your website. If you're familiar with that, and it gives you the JavaScript, the HTML, the pop-up, the iframe, gives you everything that you would need to embed this. And then you can also, quickly, I know we're running out of time, but we can send via an email campaign, which is so good if you are sending to like 1,000 people, if you know exactly who you're sending this to. So we, at the health department, we wanted to send it to everyone, the survey, workforce development survey, to everyone in the health department. So we sent them all each their own link using an email campaign. That way we knew who filled it out, who didn't fill it out, and we were able to send them a reminder email. Hey, you forgot to fill this out, don't forget. So the first thing you do here is send an email campaign, create an email campaign name, and we're just going to say AoS conference. This is for internal use only. Only the people that get the emails will not see this, so you can choose whatever you want. And then, so we create our email campaign here, and then you can add a reminder email, you can add a thank you message, you can edit the contacts. So next you would add contacts. Here you click the add contacts, and you can, if you just have a couple people, you can manually enter them. You can select from a list, and you can also upload a spreadsheet. So that's what we're going to do here. You can choose a file from your computer. And here I've already added one. So it's our AoS conference contact list. Let's hit open and then hit continue. And I checked a box there to let them know that I did have a header row. So you can map this to fields in Alchemer. So here we have the first row was the first name, the second row was the last name, and the third row was the email address, which is, I don't know, I can't see. It's on here somewhere, but maybe it's this top one here. Yes. So then you hit continue, and you can send, it automatically defaults to Jake because he is our admin, but you can change that to yourself, or maybe on this case, we only have 5. It's not going to take a long time to upload. So I'm not going to send an email notification when the upload is complete. And then you hit continue. This is Alchemer is so good. It's very straightforward, very user-friendly. And you can also, so now that that's uploaded, you can send or schedule the email. You can send it right now. Say I want to send it out right now. Maybe you're working on this late at night and you don't want to send it till tomorrow morning. You can hit this not scheduled here, and you can actually schedule it. So you can choose the date and time that you want it to go out. So then you would schedule email. Okay, so that is delivery. And then also after you send that, now you have delivery statistics. So you can pop in here at any time and see how many emails maybe bounced back. Maybe you typed in the email address incorrectly, how many people actually unsubscribed, or how many emails were initiated. And then here you'll see how many people actually completed the survey. So it comes in really handy. And I love the email campaigns. It saved a lot, especially that reminder email, because maybe people for, the due date's coming up, and I mean, maybe this is a simple survey like a food order, and you really need to get that food order in or something. So you can send a reminder email to let them know, hey, don't forget to fill out this survey. So I love the share from the email campaign. It's so good. So now that we've shared it and we've collected all of our data, the next thing to do is to do reporting. So here we go to results. We can look at our individual responses, or we can look at, maybe we want to export our data to Excel. So I'm going to go in and generate some test responses. I'm going to generate 100 test responses here so that we can actually see something. Should have did that earlier. How much time do I have, Lauren?
It's 2:30 now, but I think we can go over a little bit. So you got
Okay.
another good 5 minutes or so.
Okay, so good. I'll keep going. Okay, so now we have some test data. So I'm going to go to results and exports. I love the reporting in Alchemer, but a lot of the time I like to analyze it in a different software program like SAS or SPSS. So in that case, I use the CSV Excel export function. So here you can hit new export, and I like to just download all of this data. So I hit download all data now. You can also hit create report. I like to do it like this, but it takes a minute. Okay, so we click to download our export, and then here it is. So it gives us the time that it started and ended, how long it took them to take this survey. It gives you the latitude and longitude, and then it gives you all of the questions. But you'll notice here that the header defaults to the actual survey question. And if you've analyzed data in a software program, this is not helpful at all. You want a shorter variable name. But don't worry, we can easily do that in Alchemer. So in that case, we would go to tools, results, editing, reporting values, and aliases. So we'll choose that, and we can give our questions an alias. So instead of the question popping up in that header row, the alias would pop up in that header row. So would you like to participate in this survey? An alias could be participate. For this one, which of these destinations? It could be destinations. It can be whatever you want. And then when you go back in and export your result, you see how it just saved it there. You go back in and export. Let's do our new export again. Hurry up, Alchemer. Hopefully, oh, here it is. I want you to be able to see that it uses the alias. So here, see, it used the alias participate instead of that full question. So now it'll be so much easier when you're putting it in SAS. You have that shortened variable, and now like beach paradise, destinations, because these are the destinations, and it puts them in individual columns, and it's so helpful. You can also change these instead of beach paradise. You can have it say 1 or 2. Let me try to pull that back up. In the build here, if you go back in to edit, you can reporting, you can have custom reporting values here, and you can change it. So instead of the reporting value for yes is usually 1 and no is usually 0. So then when you do that export, you can have it pull in the reporting value. So it's much easier when you go to analyze it offline. You don't have to Control F in Excel and find words and change them to find all the yeses and change it to 1, all the nos to 0. So those reporting values and those aliases, your data analyst will thank you for that 100%. go ahead and hit save question there. So that is results. And I was thinking maybe we could go into our survey to look at the survey that we filled out for the Alchemer survey experience poll. We can go in and look at our results together so we can see the reporting function. So here we can create a new report. We can look at this report here. And we'll see that we had 21 people complete it. And let's see, we had 28.6% with no experience, 28.6 with limited. Uh-oh, we have some extensive experience. Sorry if you were bored and here if you had extensive experience, but hopefully it was helpful for some people. You can add filters here. You can filter by response status. So maybe we don't want to pull in any partials or disqualified or any of that test data. You only want completed. So you can save that filter. You can compare segments by answer questions. Maybe you want to look at people, you want to compare by their level of experience. Yeah, you can do that here. I mean, that's probably not a good question for that, but just so that you can see how to use those segments. And then reporting style, just like before, we can change the page color. We can add our logo in here again, whatever we want to show up on our survey. Say you're sending this to a stakeholder and you want to put your logo on there, you can do that. And then, yeah, so the filtering really comes in handy. Throughout this document, you can add a text or image. We had a really big survey and it had like multiple program specific questions in there. And so we were able to go in and add a text and we would say, okay, this is for human resources. So the end user could easily scroll through and be like, oh, okay, these next questions are for human resources. And you can change the size of that and the color just like before. So yeah, so that is quick and dirty reporting in Alchemer. Let's go back to our share tab and it'll hopefully load the map. Don't make a liar out of me, Alchemer. Anyway, it's supposed to take the latitude and longitude from where they filled out the survey and update the map. And I know this works because Jake showed it in a meeting the other day, and it was a really cool feature. So anyway, that might spin for a long time, but I want to open the floor to questions if there are any questions. Elizabeth, Lauren, no questions that were left unanswered or
one just came through in the chat. How do you recommend handling skip logic if you're also doing paper surveys?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it depends on if you are, I mean, if you're going to enter them into Alchemer, then you would set the skip logic up the same way. But that's much harder when you're doing a paper survey. But I always put for our paper surveys, if yes to the question above, then you can fill this out. Otherwise, skip. So I give instructions within the survey to let them know, you don't have to fill out the next questions if you answered a certain way to question one. So I think that's useful to provide just the different directions in text on the survey, on the paper survey.
I think there's a few people with their hands up. You guys have any
Yeah.
questions? Can come off mute.
Oh, I see
Hoping next
Jerry's
year.
hand.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Jerry. Elizabeth knows me a little bit. I'm a CDCP help. I have a question. Is there any way to get a practice field? Some way, I can practice this on my own without, going to the actual survey. I don't want to save something, that I make a big mess, then I'll have to save it. Do you have a practice field or a reference pages? Someone can go in and make a reference. Okay, I'm doing this, this is the way it's done, just in case.
Yeah.
Is there anything of that nature? Thank you.
Yes. So the PowerPoint that we will send out has reference links on there. And Alchemer University, I don't know if you've ever used Alchemer University, but it's really great. And it has practice examples for you to walk through. So have you used Alchemer University?
No, ma'am.
It's really good. It's really good. And you can always create a test survey in Alchemer and then delete it after you play around with it.
I see that while you doing it, you're saving.
Yeah.
So, but I guess, at the end of the survey, that will be the final saving. Is it correct?
Yeah,
Because
it
it's
saves
saving as you
throughout.
go.
Yes, it saves as you go, but then once you're done, you can delete the entire survey.
Got you. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Because I'll probably delete the survey we just created together.
Okay.
But it's good practice to get in there and get your hands dirty.
That's right. Thanks.
I did
Yeah.
put some links in the chat also to the national trainings that we had, I believe, a couple of years ago. There's the first one, and then there's also a more advanced one that you all are welcome to listen to. Jake has made those available on YouTube. And then I also made sure that you had the link to Alchemer University, but you can access that when you log into the Alchemer platform within your account as well on the left-hand pane there.
Yeah. It's good.
I had a question. This is Roberta Smith from Colorado. We're currently going to be launching a survey, and we've got multiple partners, and I just haven't even tried to put logos on the survey because I'm thinking you can only put one on there. I don't know if people have done other things when you've got multiple partners participating. And I
Yeah,
wasn't
Elizabeth,
going to create a new logo.
no, Elizabeth, she works around this pretty well.
And I don't know if any others have tried this, but I open a Word document in landscape and I put everyone's logo together. I choose the background that I want on the Word document so that the colors will match. You can choose the exact hex code that you might need in the actual header of your survey, and then just rock and roll with it. And I just take a little snippet of the image or convert that Word document to an image. You can crop it and then I upload it. Try to make sure that the sizing in the Word document is the size that you would like it in the survey so that it's not pixelated. But I don't know if anyone's tried anything else, though.
I have
Yeah, I
also
think
done
that's-
that.
Yeah, that's a great workaround, I think.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully it doesn't take up the whole page of the survey. That's my concern too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
make
adjust
it
the
kind of
size.
small.
Yeah. Yeah, just make it small.
Well, we're right at 3:43. I don't know if there's any other questions. Lindsay, thank you so much. I know that I pushed you out of your comfort zone yet again to do this. So thank you so much for this
You're
presentation
welcome.
and sharing your insights with the group. We all appreciate it so much.
Yeah,
We're
of
about a
course.
couple of minutes away from rejoining the main conference session for closing remarks. And then if anyone has any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Lindsay's email address, I'm sure she'll be open to answering questions even outside of this presentation. So
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Maybe next year we'll do like an advanced topics. There's lots of advanced things with like different codes that you can put, changing just so much that you can actually do in Alchemer. But this was just the basics and some helpful tips.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Guess we'll be directed back to the main room in a minute.
Yeah.
Right. Time for a breather.
If we have 2 seconds for AOS members, all you have to do is be logged into Alchemer on the right-hand side or left-hand side. You're going to see Alchemer University. You just need to be logged in, and all the classes are there. So, yeah, we pay extra for that.
Yeah, I like it. Google's really good too. If I have I
Google's-
wanted to add tooltips, I Googled Alchemer tooltips and it pops right up.
Yeah, they're integrated into Google, and I love that too.
Yeah, I do too.
And then Alchemer even has a search feature within their website. So if you just type in keywords, everything that's related to that keyword will show up as well.
Yeah. And if you're really lazy, I just call them and I give them my code to say log in as me, and I watch them do it for me. 12 hours a day, it's available.
That's smarter, actually.
Okay, just show me, have you do it in my account for me.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Thanks.
Taylor, if you are talking, you're on mute.
Oh, how embarrassing. Yes, I was totally talking. Thank you, Jessica, for letting me know. Thanks, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those breakout sessions. I don't know about you, but the one that I was in was great, and I'm sure the ones that you all were in were fantastic as well. Another big thanks to our presenters for investing their time and efforts into this space today with us to share their work with us. Before we close out, I do want to welcome back Jake Holdaway, the Director of the Academy of Sciences, just to share a few closing words with us. So, Jake, are you here?
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for letting me close off. Just want to say thank you. Many different state health departments, state associations, Taylor and their entire group. This has been the largest AOS conference we've ever had. It was twice the size as we did last year. As you can see, they're coming from almost every state in the union, coming in and learning a little bit about it. To kind of talk about what's going to be in the next 6 months and the work that we're doing, the state of Kansas will be presenting to the ELC annual committee on February 19th. We do not know if that'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, because of the stuff going on in the CDC, but we do know that we'll push forward. We're very grateful for the state of Kansas to lead that effort, representing the AOS board and whatnot to talk about that grant and to open that up for more people. We also will be speaking to the CSTE EPI Method Subcommittee on April 9th. So for all CSTE members, if you want to share that, the AOS values will be going through there. The board, Kristen Larder from Michigan and Elizabeth from Kentucky and Taylor from Kansas chapters will be presenting the working chapters for those to all to that group, and that's the national subcommittee group. And then the other two advocacy events are going to be at the NATO Preparedness Summit. That's in San Antonio. We'll be doing a booth there and probably trying to do a session to advocate for local data collectors and also for the AOS library there. And then our largest one will be at the NATO 360 in July in Anaheim. So if any of you guys are going to that, great. We use every effort we can to build our library, to advocate for these tools, to organize them like we talked about. But just want to say thanks to the AOS board. It's been a very big year for all of us and all the work that they've put into it. To be honest with you, no one on the AOS board gets paid. It's all a volunteer effort to kind of bring this all together. We hope you all walk away with a very long list of ideas, but also inspiration to improve your values, your AOS values, your data sharing values, that you're more connected and not siloed in your communities, but also get to know data collection. If you need any help, I'm here to strengthen your AOS chapter. But lastly, we want to thank the design team who put the entire conference together. I mean, Wichita State University, it's the second time. They're such a great partner. And we want to thank the Center for Public Health Initiatives team at Wichita State University, at the Community Engagement Institute for serving as organizers for today's event. So thank you all. And next year, I'm sure we'll double in size like we do every year. So it's crazy. Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it. Hey, really quick before we hop off today, we do have a couple of quick things. First of all, again, just want to thank all of our presenters and participants for investing your time, giving us a window into your world and inspiring us to continue exploring all things AoS. We really appreciate you joining us. A link to an evaluation of this virtual conference will or has already been shared in the chat. So we would highly encourage you and be oh so grateful to you if you could please, please, please answer just a couple of quick questions in that survey. We know how much we all love surveys, and we would appreciate it if you take a couple minutes to answer ours. Again, thank you all so much for being here with us today and joining us for the second annual AoS National Conference. As a reminder, all sessions today were recorded, and we will make those available on the AoS website, along with any handouts or anything else that speakers had today and were able to share. But we look forward to seeing you all next year and in monthly meetings and things between now and then. But until next time, we hope you stay safe and well. Thank you all very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Taylor, do you want the organizers to stay on, or is everybody leaving?